Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 2nd Mount Vernon City School District School Board meeting. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Kelly. Here. Trustee Njenga.
Here.
Trustee Adesobi.
Present.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee Lency.
Here.
Trustee Kerwin.
Here.
Trustee Redd. VP White.
Present.
President Saunders.
Present.
We have our quorum.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to have the ice cold drum line from the Leadership Academy present. We're going to have the ice cold drum line present, and with them we have Mr. White and Mr. Collins. Thank you.
Encore?
Is there encore? Yes, bring them in.
Yes, we can see them.
The Leadership Academy. This is our Leadership Academy. We used to have Band Day. This would be Band Day, this, wouldn't it? May.
I remember.
It's in May. Want to stand and give them an applause?
Huh?
Are they gonna,
When they finish.
Where you can.
they're gonna do something else?
If you notice, it's all girls on the drums. That's almost, yeah.
You gotta see how she play.
I know, but it's a guy.
Watch that one.
What's that in the front with the black?
Oh, I'm sorry, two boys.
I was gonna say, geez.
Don't just say, watch how she play.
Great representation, no matter what.
She ain't in the front back.
Girl power.
I don't know about that.
That's a little close. Yeah. Camera.
give them one more round of applause. Let's thank Dr. Steve Wright for her ice cold drum line. We appreciate them for stopping by. Kind of got our blood pumping. Now we're going to turn it over to some more students that's led by Dr. Pauline Pierce, and she and her students are going to report on the International Baccalaureate program. They got it started for you, Dr. Pierce.
Good evening, everyone. All my students not here yet, so can we push that?
She's delayed.
Sure, we'll hear.
Want to do community
Community report.
community
No,
comment?
not the community presentation.
Oh, okay.
There is no legal requirement to recognize, There is no legal requirement to recognize public comment at meetings of the Board of Education. However, the board recognizes the critical importance of community discourse and involvement in the education of Mount Vernon's children, and accordingly, members of the public are invited to speak at each regularly scheduled board meeting, subject to the terms of the board policy. Please state your name, address, and the organization, if any, you represent. A speaker must register in advance by no later than 4 p.m. the day of the meeting by contacting the district clerk in person at 165 North Columbus Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, by phone at 914-665-5235, or by email. The board welcomes all respectful comments, whether praise or criticism. However, identifying and criticizing a specific student, parent, teacher, administrator, other Mount Vernon education official, or employee is strictly prohibited. Any such complaint must be presented and addressed through the proper administrative channels. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Up to 1 additional minute may be used for the speaker to summarize and conclude their remarks. If appropriate, board trustees and/or the superintendent or other staff members at the direction of the superintendent may immediately respond to a speaker's remarks. Our first speaker tonight is Warren Mitchell.
Good evening, board, cabinet, family. Warren Mitchell, 30 Herbal Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, 10552. I want to do a quick blast from the past. The January 31st meeting was very important. The auditors came in and they reported on what they found from the as of June 20, 2022, which looked at the 21-22 school year. You can watch this on the Facebook live meeting. You can watch it. At the hour and 15-minute, 7-second mark, they clearly stated that no fraud, no illegal activity was found. So anyone else is telling you differently, please stop lying. And that goes for anyone in the public or anywhere else. They found 4 material weaknesses. They were all in the business department for various reasons. Now, I want to talk about something else. Audits are something that any board member can ask. No one can block an audit, period. And I'll give you an example. Of all the audits that were needed at the top of this year, and at the midway point, of all the audits that were needed, and then the audit on grants, special, outside, $100,000. Member of the public got up here and said, that was not true. Stop lying. Resolution 10-5, same meeting, January 31st, Article 5 of that scope of work says $70,000 for Serini and Associates. For scope, $30,000 out of scope. That's $100,000 for an outside audit of grants. When as many things are going on in the district that need to be audited are not being audited. So I say all that to say this. When our workers, our CSCA workers, our Mount Vernon Federation of Teachers are feeling unheard, and they feel like no one has their back and they don't have a seat at the table, this is where the energy should be going. And to address one of the trustees who said on one meeting at the end, we're just volunteers, we're only doing what we can do with what we have. Okay, so those positions wield great power. You can hire, fire, and destroy. So if you're going to call out that this is a volunteer position, that's fine. Remember who you're obligated to: the taxpayers, the children, and the people that work in the district. Not the person running your slate, not outside lobbyists, not outside interference. People who are having their own agendas to get things done. And you got to ask yourself, any trustee that sat on that board and can say that they willfully tried to get audits for 7 and 9 years and couldn't get them, you have to ask how effective they've been at their job. And then you have to question why they're doing what they're doing. Now, in relation to the discussions that you heard about the Hamilton situation, the safety, and all of these things, Hamilton in particular had 3 guards when Dr. BC left. It went down to 2 guards. And if you haven't noticed, there's guards in all the different schools that are dwindling. So I have to ask, why are we decreasing security guards at a time when we need safety agents in our building the most? It's not thinking about the kids first and foremost. It's just not. And you're not thinking about protecting the teachers and the people in the building. And when we're talking about protection, you're talking about the taxpayer. Zero tax increase, yeah, we can make it work, but it has to be fiscally responsible. The budget has to be fiscally sound. $15 million worth of cookie jar money is going to be dwindled down to $9 million by the end of this school year, with the other $6.8 million that is projected to spend is actually spent. This was also spoke on at the January 31st meeting by the same auditors. So, zero tax increase, okay, let's make it work with sound finances. You can't keep saying corruption if the same people that have been on the board saying corruption are still saying corruption. It doesn't make sense. Stop lying to the people because you imagine that Mount Vernon will not find out the facts and get taken advantage because they don't know what's going on and they're not sure who to ask. And because we have board trustees who don't bother to answer calls or emails or anything of the such. So let's please stop the lying and let's start the drive. Thank you.
There's a couple of things. You don't think it's unethical for someone running for a board position in 2 weeks to be here chastising the board? You talk about Hamilton. You were also on the committee for buildings and grounds.
Correct.
What did you do to make sure that Hamilton and those schools were properly secured?
At the schools that were called out to me, I addressed every one. If I was emailed by the public, I'm going to finish my statement.
No, I'm listening.
If I was emailed by the public about any issue, I followed up with whoever was facilities director at the time or acting, and I visited every building that I was able to get into. Make no mistake, if Hamilton, I think it was a broken gate or something like that, let's make no mistake, you're not a district employee, neither is any board member. Any broken gates, fences, things like that, they go to the head custodian first, and then, of course, they report to their higher-ups to
So
get
why are you
things
looking
done.
at the board if it's not a board employee's situation? Why
I didn't blame any one of the board members for Hamilton. I didn't say that.
I didn't say that. But
Oh.
you're looking at us for the things that happen in the schools. And like I said, your focus for the last few meetings have been about the audits.
Absolutely, because
Why don't you wait until the audit comes out to tell us what happened?
I totally agree with that. But here's the
But
deal.
you don't
Here's the
know
deal.
what happened, but yet you're
Right.
making suggestion that people are lying.
But yet you
You said
reassign
lie.
the superintendent home with no proof,
You
no
kept saying-
charge,
you
and no
kept saying
accusation that's based on facts.
Who's lying? Who's lying?
I said anybody in here, including the public, who is lying, I'm asking that you please stop lying to the public. That's all.
I'm going to interject right now.
Please.
Because we have a letter of facts from the New York State Department of State regarding, this Department of Education, regarding the issues of why a certain individual was removed.
Is that the
So-
January letter or the February?
So we will put that up on the district
Say that.
website.
Yeah,
Thank
please
you
do.
for your time, Mr. Mitchell. We
Yeah,
appreciate you.
absolutely. You're always welcome.
You
And
have
again,
a
the
good day.
January letter said, ask Dr. BC for reasoning and then there
Thank
was
you,
a
Mr.
follow-up.
Thank
I
you,
hope
Mr.
that it
Mitchell.
has all the details and it's not
Have the next
redacted.
speaker.
Thank you.
The public will get it.
We could put this
Brenda
up.
Crump, our next speaker. Oh, sorry. Brenda Crump, our next speaker.
About tired of his ass.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brenda L. Crump. I reside at 432 Dunham Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, 10553. I will start off with, so why is the board asking for address now? And another question, I would like to see the board, when the community come up to speak and they ask questions, it would be great if the board would respond. I know that the city council asked for name and address, and so now the board is asking for address, and you will answer my question, maybe hopefully why you're asking for address now. And I know it was thought by someone that the city council gave their comments at the end of their legislations, but that wasn't accurate. And so I'm just wondering in regards to the request for the address, which I don't mind. It's like City Gen Water. People kind of know where I reside and or my number or something. But also coming up to speak as a community member and asking questions and not receiving any answers is disheartening from our leaders. If we want people to be involved and engaged, they only will be to the extent they feel that they are valued and appreciated. Lastly, because I won't be before you for long, I had asked a few times in regards to the $13+ million that's owed by taxpayers that our controller had asked the business office, our district, for the certified document so that the city can do its job in going after the taxpayers to seek the monies for that. So my question I'll ask again is, has that document been submitted to the city? And if it has not, then why not, and when will it be?
Mr. Crump, Ms. Crump, are you finished with your statement?
Yes.
So you asked that a couple of board meetings ago. But
Right. Were you
prior
speaking to the mic, please?
You asked a statement. You asked about the $11.7 million.
No, I didn't ask about the 11.78 million because some people don't have the information correct. The $11.78 million is the money that the district was saying that the city owe. And actually, let me just elaborate on that a little bit because it's a little bit misleading for the district to the community and sounding like the city had collected the money and had taken the money, misused the money, or stolen the money when it's stated that the city had not collected the money. However, the city does owe the money via the taxpayers. The taxpayers owe the money, the $11.78 million. I'm talking about the additional monies of the 13+ mil that's owed by taxpayers that the controller has asked for a certified list of those taxpayers so that the city can go do what it needs to do in reference to collecting those funds. And that question had not been asked. So I did not ask about the 11.78 mil. I asked about the 13+ mil.
Okay, well, I have Mr. Silva. Are you sleeping? What you were doing? Can you answer, Ms. Crump, please?
So the controller and I have been speaking, and we have a meeting planned for either later this week or next week to review what is necessary for the first year that we collected taxes. The second year that we collected taxes is not due until June. And so we are continuing to collect old taxes. Even though we give the controller a certified list, we are still expected to continue to collect old taxes rather than just turn it over to the controller, because the city at this time does not have the ability to manage the old taxes. So they've asked us to continue collecting the old taxes. So we are doing that every day as well. So our attorneys are involved in determining what this additional certification looks like, which is not required by the state, but according to the controller, it is, so we are still arguing about that. We did send him already 2 years' worth of that, but he is asking for something more than we have sent him, so we are meeting with him either this week or next week.
So just for clarity, so the answer to the question is, has the school district sent the certified list? And the answer to that question is no?
That is not the answer to the question.
Okay, that's why I'm asking for clarity.
There was
What's
one
the
year,
answer?
1 year that was due, that was turned over to the city. They are asking for some additional information beyond what we already gave them with the list of the unpaid taxes. The second year is not due yet, and the third year is the year we are in.
Okay, I won't go back and forth, but I think it's pretty clear to me because my question is straight, it's direct. It's either a simple yes or a no. The controller stood here and said that he had asked for a certified list. I can't think, a quick example is, and don't be offended, it's just the first example that come to mind, but asking the fox to guard the chicken hen or the fox or the police to police themselves. Please don't be offended, it's just the first analogy that kind of come to mind. So in reference to what the controller had said, that a list cannot be submitted and then the person, you certify your own list. It was very clear what the controller asked for. And so again, my question is very clear and direct. It's either the list has or has not been presented. And it sounds like it has not, because the response is talking about a year before and a year this, when the answer is either the controller asked for this, a certified document list of about $13+ million that's owed to the school district. It's either the school district has provided that certified list or they have not provided that certified list. And if they have not provided that certified list for the additional 13+ mil, then why not? Why haven't they as of yet?
It's my understanding that.
Will you speak into the mic, please?
Yeah, it was my understanding that there was no, yeah, you go ahead and answer because I don't want to talk out of turn.
No, you're correct in what you're about to say.
No, you go ahead. No.
So the list was given to the controller stood here in December. This is now 5 months later. A list was given to the controller of the 1 year that was due. That's the end of my answer. It was given to the controller between December and now. The next year is not due until 2 months from now. That's when the second year is due. The third year is not due until the following year.
Okay, so I would give the analogy of, I give you a check, but you're asking for a certified check. I have not given you a certified check. I gave you a personal check that was not certified. Thank you for the reply, not necessarily the direct answer to a direct question. And I hope that this will be your pattern going forward with the community, not necessarily a back and forth, but answering the community's questions. And when you can't answer them, just simply acknowledging error, to acknowledge, investigate, and then to respond back or to report back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crump.
Thank you. Carl Neffentoff? Carl Neffentoff? Okay. Last call, Carl Neffentoff? Okay. Okay, that ends our public comments.
So are we going to hear from?
Dr. Pierce, are we ready? Okay, so we're going to have a presentation by Dr. Pierce and her students who will report on the International Baccalaureate Program.
Can we make a disclaimer at the beginning? We're giving them an opportunity to speak.
Okay, good evening, Board President Trustee Saunders, members of the board, the acting superintendent and her cabinet members, and community members. Let's change the pace a little bit here. First, let me thank you for this opportunity to showcase the academia and the character development program that undergirds the plan to elevate the new Mount Vernon High School to one of excellence. We thank you for this opportunity. We would like to capitalize on the concept of a traditional high school as it closely mimics real life and the myriad of decisions that one makes in one's lifetime. We at the new Mount Vernon High School envision a high school where students have multiple pathways to choose from, a school that is just right for every student that walks through its doors. A school where excellence is the norm and there is something for everyone to excel in. I want to point out that this dream cannot be realized without the support of the board and the community. We thank you on behalf of our children, some of whom you will hear from today, for the resources and for putting the right team together to get the job done. And I'm going to repeat that part, for putting the right team together to get the job done. And most importantly, for recognizing that this is the first time in years that the flagship school is reclaiming its place in the community. And in so doing, despite the budget issues, you are remaining steadfast in keeping the human and fiscal resources that make dreams come true. We thank you.
Thank you. We thank you.
I was just about to be facetious and say, speak into the mic. Please help me welcome our team who are living the dream to provide you with a snapshot of how far we have come. So let's start off with our DP coordinator, Ms. Platt.
How do we advance the slide? Do I just say advance the slide? Is that how it works? Great. So what is an IB school? Well, we started our IB journey. We were authorized in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. And our own fabulous Dr. Pierce was the person that spearheaded that effort. It was a 3-year process, and we were fortunate enough to do everything just right, and we are now an IB World School. And that means we are a school that's authorized to teach a program of courses that have depth and have rigor outside the traditional high school curriculum. And it allows our students to grow both as scholars and as citizens of their school community, citizens of their city community, and also to find their place in the global community. As the world is getting smaller, we all need to be able to reach out and feel a part of that community. You may switch the slide, please. Okay, so international what? I'm often hearing, what does this all mean? International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, it's a lot to unpack. So if we could slide it once more, thank you. So international, it was originated in Europe in 1968 by diplomats who wanted a traditional Western education for their children when they were overseas. It's now in 97 countries around the world. It's baccalaureate, which is a course of study such as liberal arts. We don't just offer science, and we don't just offer the arts. We offer everything. We have IB art, we have IB music, we have sports, exercise, and health science. We have just everything in like a liberal arts education. A diploma, there is an IB diploma that comes with this program. You do not need to take the full IB diploma. Some of our students just take 1 or 2 classes. But if you take that IB diploma, you get something that is recognized around the world. If I go to the UK. They don't know Mount Vernon High School in the UK. They don't know what we're about, no matter how fabulous we may be. But they do know what the IB is because it's worldwide. And they'll look at a student with an IB diploma and they know the level of excellence that student has achieved, how hard they've worked, and the kind of character they've built doing it. And a program, it's a British spelling, trips up my spell check all the time. Its courses are somewhat prescribed in what you will take. Like the DP students that take the full diploma, there's 6 groups of courses in the IB. Those students who take that IB diploma will take one subject from each of those groups. So the backbone of the IB program is the IB Learner Profile Attributes. And it is really what we would hope to encompass the perfect person. The perfect person would have these characteristics like open-minded and caring, being a communicator, being principled, being reflective, but also as well a scholar, a really fantastic scholar who's really grounded, would be open-minded, would be knowledgeable, would be a thinker, would be involved in inquiry. So we try to bring that into the entire school community, into all of our classes, and it is woven in to the curriculum of the IB courses in particular. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our amazing AP of Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Erica Naughton.
Good evening, everyone. The mark of great pedagogy is the ability to allow practices that create an environment where students are able to think independently, critically, and creatively. The structure of the ways of thinking and knowing for an IB World School includes all of the above. Another indicator of great pedagogy is the ability to share best practices across all content areas at varying levels. At the new Mount Vernon High School, students are enabled by well-trained facilitators to think and engage beyond the brick and mortar of the school building. It is expected that the staff will afford these opportunities to all scholars that they teach. It is my pleasure to introduce to you tonight 2 of our IB-trained instructors who reach students on every level, including IB scholars, ENL scholars, our scholars with disabilities, and our general education scholars. These teachers use what they know and understand to be meaningful instruction that shapes students' ways of knowing and fosters an environment to facilitate lifelong learning. Ms. Delaporte and Ms. Sherlock will share their experiences with the multiplier effect. The multiplier effect is analogous with an economic factor that will increase or change, that will, when increased or changed, cause increases or changes and many other related economic variables. Today, I want you to think of the economic variables as instruction.
Good evening. So when we think about the multiplier effect, we're looking at how it impacts the school community on a larger level, right? So we plan together, Ms. Sherlock and I, for what the students are going to be dealing with in our classrooms, but it impacts the ripple effect of the rest of the school, right? So when we're in department meetings, we're looking at how are we making sure we're increasing the rigor so that by the time kids reach 11th grade, they're ready to step into collegiate level work. How are we making sure we're building their self-esteem and having them work on advocacy and all these different skills so that they know they have the ability and what they need to do so that they can be there, right? So it's in our general education classrooms, because outside of IB, we teach classes that have English as a new language. I have 4 sections with kids who are coming in from other countries. We have students with disabilities. We're collaborating with other teachers, looking at how are we incorporating these ideas, philosophies, concepts into what we're teaching, because one of the major issues is global concepts. How do we make sure we're looking at how we're all talking about addressing the issues that we're dealing with in the world and bringing it beyond the classroom? Next slide, please. I don't know who I'm looking at. Sorry. Another really important aspect of the IB philosophy is that it falls really close in line to social and emotional learning philosophies. And so, especially since the pandemic, this has been a really important thing for us to look at conversations. How are you managing your time? How are you incorporating active listening skills? How are you making sure that you're balancing your life in such a way? Because when they get into college, they're going to be making their own schedules. They're going to be doing all of these things. So if you're telling me you want to step into a college level space, how can we help you look at the gap you have to step into so that you can do what you need to do for your success, right? So we have the self-awareness, the self-management. We incorporate all of these things from the SEL standpoint, and we connect it to the approaches to teaching and learning that IB has given us. So it works really well inside of that. Next slide, please.
Okay, so I have an example. This is from my English 2 ICT class and my general ed class. What I try to focus on is bringing these global issues and these larger approaches to learning into my other classrooms other than IB. So I'm collaborating with other E2 teachers and we're coming up with these ideas. This was for Just Mercy. We were exploring how can we create impactful change within our society. So kids are figuring out how can I actually make a difference out there and how can we tackle these larger issues within our classroom. So in there you could see we connected it to empathy, mercy, humanization, resistance, advocacy. These are larger issues that IB explores that I've now brought into all of my classes. You could go to the next slide. And you can see, so the class on the left, these are my IB Year 1 students, me and Miss Delaport. And on the right is my English 2 ICT course. Looks the same to me. They're both collaborating, they're both working on these larger global issues.
Right, so and a lot of what we're doing lives inside of the building community and cultivating character, looking beyond the classroom. There's a lot of conversation and collaboration that's happening because we talk about issues that the kids are dealing with. We talk about sexism, we talk about racism, we talk about ableism and Eurocentrism. How does that impact you on a personal level? How does it show up in the text that we're reading? What are you going to do about it inside of the world that we have? For some people, it's just going to have an awareness so that when you hear conversations, you can make a difference inside of, hey, let me interrupt that for a second. And for other people, if you have a platform, right? So one of our students during the pandemic started a business and she's like, oh, well, what can I do? I have a platform. And so on her front page, she has this thing. It says support anti-racism. I'm raising awareness, driving donations, and sharing information in support of racial justice and equality. Will you join me? And you can't see it from the slide, but it says act now. So there's a place for them to go and click. They're doing things, right? And so much of our programming is about that. Teachers are coming up to us. What are you teaching? What are you doing? The kids are saying this. The kids are saying that. Kids are just showing up in class trying to figure out what we're doing. You know, we're giving them a vocabulary and a framework to articulate thoughts that we don't generally have the words to say. And it's so important to empower them, especially in today's climate, to be able to do that, right? And so we talk a lot about the privilege of education and being able to bring this program in. And we ask them, are you leaving the world a better place than when you found it? Because if you have that information, how can you have empathy and compassion such that you can be like, okay, let me understand that perspective. What do I know? What more do I need to know? So it's a place of curiosity and growing. And so to introduce to you some of our amazing scholars is one of the great school counselors, Miss Peggy Williams.
I'm humble, thank you. Good evening, all. I am extremely privileged to be an IB school counselor at Mount Vernon High School. It truly enriches my spirit to work with these young people and to see them blossom and grow. So it would be easy for me to come here and talk to you about last year's valedictorian and salutatorian and how they got almost full tuition scholarships at my alma mater, Iona College. I'm just saying. You know, but I think about them and I think about the evolution of the program, right? When we first started and we had just students taking one individual course, how they were so excited, but they were super nervous about how they were going to replace AP with IB, as they were trying to understand what did that really mean in the marketplace of ideas and values and college admissions. I mean, let's be practical, right? And so they went off in this journey, and many of them have gone to great colleges and universities and are having wonderful experiences. I could talk about how last year's valedictorian got accepted to her bachelor's and her master's degree program at the same time. right? What 17-year-old gets that kind of opportunity, right? But I think what's really important for me as a school counselor, and something that doesn't really get talked about enough, is the way in which programs like the International Baccalaureate program cultivate a culture within the building. Yes, our children are brilliant. And for those students who don't believe they're brilliant, it's important for us to have a nurturing culture that says, what I am teaching you about these exponents, you're going to be able to use in the world, in the real world, not 10 years from now, but tomorrow, right? And so as a school counselor, one of my goals is to pull in resources that we don't have, right? There are so many people in our community and around us that are absolutely fantastic. And as the more I'm able to talk to them about what our students are doing and the practical application of their knowledge, the more invested they are in working with our students. So my slide is a depiction of many of the organizations outside of Mount Vernon High School that are being drawn into us as we start to excite them about the type of students that we're churning out through the International Baccalaureate program. We talked a little bit about the learner profiles, but think about the idea of me saying, when I write this letter of recommendation to NYU, when I write this letter of recommendation for the Posse Foundation Scholarship, when I write this letter of recommendation for the Her Honor Mentorship Program, by the way, 2 of our students have graduated from that program and are now in law school, and the program had a significant role in helping them to not only fund, but gain acceptance to New York law. This is imperative that we can arm our students with these attributes and show them that they're not just fluff, that they're real, that the students are in our building doing things. I have the honor of introducing our future, our IB students that are going to step not only out into the world, but take the next step in the IB program. We are developing and growing caring risk takers, principled and balanced, inquirers, knowledge-seeking, excellent communicators. That culture that we are building at Mount Vernon High School is truly the game changer. They're going to put a lot of facts and figures in their heads, but they are going to go out into the world and be excellent humans. And that's what we want to foster at Mount Vernon High School. Just to give you an example, I am going to introduce to you an 11th grader who I called today and was like, girl, I need you to come through. And she said, I got it. Here I come. Gloria Casali, our year 1.
Good evening to the Mount Vernon Board of Education, Dr. K. Victoria Smith, Superintendent of School, Dr. Pierce, the Principal of Mount Vernon High School, and fellow members of the Mount Vernon community. My name is Gloria Casali. I am a junior at Mount Vernon High School, and I am also what we call a year 1 of the International Baccalaureate community. My peers and I have 2 paths that we can take: full diploma or the course candidate. I am a full diploma candidate, and I will continue next year to complete my International Baccalaureate diploma in June 2024. Being the youngest of 3 and the only girl in a Nigerian household, I have quite a bit of competition. We know the sacrifices and expectations our parents have for us to make the most of all that American has to offer. My brother, who also attended Mount Vernon High School and have gone to college, assured me that if I worked hard, I can achieve my goals in school. Though they have set the bars high for me because of their success, they were not as lucky as I am to have the International Baccalaureate program. I am so happy to have this opportunity. I am a naturally reserved person and soft-spoken, as you may tell. I don't need a lot of attention, therefore I can be left alone for hours with no complaint. However, the IB will not let me do that. Now, I'll see why. The IB forced me out of my comfort zone. I may have been able to study and answer all the questions right in my past educational experiences. But this is not enough for IB. Now I have to demonstrate I know why the answer is correct, and I have to share my perspective and strategies with my peers in classes. There are so many group works. It took me some time to adjust, but once I started learning from my peers about the perspective and opinion, their strategies of way of thinking, I have learned so much more than what is just the right answer. Yes, I learned about my peers. I learned how they learn new things. I learned from them also. I learned that looking at the world from someone else's perspective while growing more confident in my own person is beautiful. Because of my work in IB, I have also been exposed to the University of Columbia Express program, Quest Bridge, and the Posse Foundation. Socially, I have been connected to the ACAP program, our honor mentorship, and the National Honor Society. In all these places, I am using my IB learner's profile and newly developed skill to grow, learn, and contribute to the community around me, and to beat my brothers. Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to introduce our salutatorian, Leslie Iyamu.
Good evening to the Mount Vernon Board of Education, Dr. K. Veronica Smith, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Pierce, Principal of Mount Vernon High School, and fellow members of the Mount Vernon community. My name is Leslie Yamu, and I am the Mount Vernon High School salutatorian, and in addition to my Advanced Regents Diploma, I am working diligently to complete the International Baccalaureate Diploma program to earn a second diploma in addition to my New York State credentials.
Oh, great.
When I first heard that I would be attending the high school, my reactions were mixed. It was in the midst of the pandemic, so I eagerly wanted to go back to school, but I was terrified of what it would be like at the high school because I never heard great things about Mount Vernon High School. However, I was determined to change that. I had distinguished myself as an honor student in middle school and held tightly to my dream of going to one of the best colleges in the country. As soon as in-person instructions was an option, I immediately came to the Mount Vernon High School to take advantage of this opportunity. As there were so few students in the building, I sometimes sat in the school's counselor's office, making sure that they knew my name and I was open to any opportunities for excellence that came about. When IB was presented to me, I was all in. I had never heard of it before, but if it could get me into an Ivy League institution, I was going to take the chance. What I got was so much more than I expected. IB is research-based and expansive. It challenged my traditional ways of learning, which was initially intimidating, but I held on tight to my goals. It was completely worth it because I have achieved my dream as I have gotten a full ride into Georgetown University in DC, Wesleyan University in Connecticut, and Columbia University, where I will be attending in the fall. I have also earned about $10,000 in private scholarships, and this is all because of IB. IB was the vehicle I used to distinguish myself from the many other applicants in the college application process and in many prestigious universities. IB reminded me that I am limitless, as we say in our Mount Vernon creed, with deep and meaningful educational opportunities, the students of Mount Vernon High School can reach new and amazing heights. Our program is unique, and it also involves cultural and academic learning. Our program must be social and societal to prepare us to navigate the complex, ever-changing, and at times unfair world around us. Once we have access and the tools to make use of them, we are not only limitless, we become unstoppable. Thank you so much.
And last but not least, our valedictorian, Darren Liu.
Good evening, Mount Vernon Board of Education, Dr. K. Veronica Smith, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Pierce, Principal of Mount Vernon High School, and my fellow members of the Mount Vernon community. My name is Darren Liu, and I am the Mount Vernon High School valedictorian, and like my classmate Leslie, who too am an Advanced Regents Diploma candidate for June 2023, and working hard to also complete the International Baccalaureate Diploma program. As Leslie stated, IB is expansive and rigorous, but I believe it's worth it. Academically, I feel completely prepared to take on the coursework that will be presented to me at the University of Rochester in the fall. There, I will be majoring in digital media studies. Although I have not participated in the great Cisco computer networking program we have at the high school, I feel completely prepared to tackle the content of my major. I can say this with confidence because of IB. IB deepened my understanding of how to learn. With classes like Theory of Knowledge and CAS, which stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service, I not only learned to challenge myself with my own belief systems, but to make them real in the world around me. As stated in IB's mission statement, IB endeavors to foster global citizenship, as well as good custodians of the earth. IB has taught me how to find my community within the larger community. After transferring to a new school in the middle of the pandemic, I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to engage, to be with that IB community. IB has encouraged me to look deeply at the world around me and to engage when there's are areas in which my skills can be helpful, all while growing those set of skills along the way. I have had to continue to improve my time management skills to get my assignments done, make time for my own mental health, help my family with their own small business, and help my little brother to achieve academic greatness as well.
Gone.
If I can do all of this while in high school, I can continue to build on the strong foundations as I adjust to college-level work and life. The learner profiles in the IB program help us all to understand, whether you take IB classes or not, that through being knowledge-seeking, caring, balanced, principled, and a risk taker, just to name a few of the learner traits, you will not only do well academically, but you will also have the tools to do well in all the other aspects of your own life. College is the next step, but learning and growing is forever. The International Baccalaureate program reminds us that as we absorb information that will make us smarter, we use that information to become better learners, better workers, creators, owners, leaders, helpers, just better. And most importantly, we use that information to better ourselves and each other. Thank you.
Thank you again to the board, and thank you to the community for supporting us. We are the new Mount Vernon High School. We're building community, we're cultivating character, and we are inspiring excellence, and we are doing it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pierce, and our scholars, teachers, counselor. We truly appreciate what you're doing at the new Mount Vernon High School. Okay, for the superintendent's report, I want to begin by saying on April 21st, an incident occurred at the Lincoln School whereby a 14-year-old student was found to have what's called a life card, which appeared like a BB gun. Ms. Jones, the principal, received a tip that a student had a weapon. She acted quickly, and through these efforts and the collaboration with the Mount Vernon Police Department, the life card was confiscated, and this situation is still under investigation, but no student was hurt, and the situation was resolved immediately. Thank you goes to the Lincoln family for their swift action. Earlier today, at approximately 12:30 p.m., a district staff member was stabbed in the back and in the arm in the vicinity of 8th Avenue and 5th Street during an apparent robbery on his way to a store during his lunch break. The man was rushed to Jacoby Medical Center, where he has been stabilized. Cecil H. Parker School, which was near the location of the incident, was placed on a lockdown and then placed on a lockout. Williams School was placed in a state of heightened security. Both schools underwent normal dismissal procedures. No students was injured as the activities took place not really close to any of our schools. We are hoping that the staff member recovers quickly. On March 16, 274 students interested in attending the Mount Vernon STEAM Academy were administered the pre-AC 8th, 9th entrance exam. Of the 274 students who took the exam, 211 met the criteria and was accepted into the STEAM for the 23-24 school year. This total includes a fair number of English language learners and special ed students. We are really proud of all the members that took part, all our staff members, to make this a successful event, and we look forward to students beginning the STEAM Academy in the fall. Parent letters were sent out, so students understand their acceptance now. Those letters were sent out last week. Congratulations go to all the students, and thank you again, staff, who coordinated this assessment administration for the 8th grade students. I want to say our student trustee Adams received the Gates Scholarship. This scholarship will pay for his bachelor, master's, and doctorate degree. Please join me in giving
Way to represent. That's right.
So again, kudos to you, student trustee Adams. Congratulations. We know all the efforts that you put forth, and you are very deserving. I also want to say that Chef Cohen and her culinary arts students prepared a meal this evening for the trustees. They serve chicken franchise, shrimp bruschetta. They grilled vegetables with balsamic glaze, roasted red potatoes, a garden salad, and they provided a chocolate mousse cup. Thank you again to Dr. Pierce at the new Mount Vernon High School, Noel Campbell, who's the director of the CTE program. We certainly enjoyed the meal. They're not here with us tonight, but thank you so very much. The last presentation under the superintendent report comes from Dr. Margaretta Cicello and Ms. Unger, and they will present and demonstrate a translator pilot.
I think so. Much better.
Good evening, Madam President. Good evening, Madam Vice President, Acting Superintendent Dr. Smith, members of the Board of Education trustees, Superintendent's Cabinet, and Mount Vernon community. Myself, I am Dr. Margarita Cercello, and I am the Director of ENL and World Languages. Along with me is Ms. Dana Unger, and she is the Instructional Tech Specialist for the Lower Hudson Valley RIC that works in conjunction with some of our schools to provide support. What we are presenting to you tonight is a first in Upper Westchester County. We partnered with a district in East Ramapo that brought this pilot to us as an example. And what I want you to do before we begin the presentation is I want you to imagine that you just took a voyage and you've been asked to study abroad. Any country in the world, but you don't know how to speak the language. How do you feel? How are you going to learn? And at the end of the instruction, you're going to be given a test that comes in your language, but the instruction is not in your language. So as we begin our presentation, I'd like you to just keep that in mind. Okay? Next slide, please. So, why are we using Microsoft Translator? As we know demographically with registration, we have received a tremendous number of newcomer Ls in the district. We have approximately 230 entering and emerging students, which their L1 language is not necessarily English and not necessarily Spanish. If you know anything about resource materials, a lot of the materials that are available for our Ls do come in a bilingual language, and it's mostly Spanish, but not other languages. So imagine being an Arabic student. Imagine being a Portuguese-speaking student. Imagine being a French student, or any other student whose language is not English or Spanish. How do you access your instruction? So, Microsoft Translator does address the multi-languages that we have in the district. It is financially sustainable for the district. You can go on to the next, please. Yes, and then.
So we know that there's a lot of translation apps out there. So why did we choose Microsoft Translator? Microsoft Translator supports 124 languages and all different dialects, which we have here in Mount Vernon. But what's really special is it allows the teacher to start a conversation with a code on either a Android or iOS app. So we have iPads in the district, and we were able to load it onto iPads for our pilot. The teacher connects to a headset through the iPad and starts the session. The students can join it either on their phones, if they're high school level, or for the younger students on the iPads that we provided. And they have a running translation in their language of everything that the teacher is teaching. And they also can hear, like the UN, can actually hear it in their language as well. So that's what makes Microsoft Translator special, and that's why we chose it. You go next. So I found out about this from East Ramapo. I listened to a podcast that Lyric had put on. Sonia Dominguez-Saravia from East Ramapo talked about how they used Microsoft Translator there, and that's when I called up Dr. Cercello, and I got a resounding yes, let's do it. So we connected, we learned from them. It was wonderful to do that, and we learned about some of their mistakes they made along the way, some of the challenges they faced, and we were ready to move forward. So Carlos Ramirez, he made sure that we had the iPads we needed for the project, and they were loaded just with Translator on them, so designated specifically for the pilot. We got the Bluetooth headsets. We could only get a small number for the pilot, but we got them. We wanted the teachers to be able to walk around the classroom and be hands-free and be able to mute when needed as well. Next slide. You want to talk about that? Sure.
So part of the rollout was determining, as we do everything, is we vet something before we bring the idea forward. And on our December professional development, we had the ENL teachers. And some of the ENL teachers are actually resourceful themselves, and they had this app on their phone. But what it allows you to do on your phone, it allows you to have a one-on-one conversation. What we've done is taken that one-on-one conversation and expanded it into a whole instructional lesson where everyone is involved, where everyone becomes engaged. So our ENL teachers actually, I can say with extreme excitement, I remember there's the ENL teacher at Pennington who actually heard the presentation in her, she speaks Hindi, so on her phone she was receiving all of the instruction in Hindi, and she was able to respond in Hindi, and we were able to hear it in English. So it provides you that instructional, banter back and forth, and not only teacher to student, but also peer to peer. So if you can go to the next slide, please.
So our first phase was at Mount Vernon High School. We held 2 orientations there, and we have 9 teachers participating. So we specifically chose teachers and students that had upcoming regions. Is that right?
Correct.
Specifically certain subject areas. So even though we wanted to include, everyone, we specifically chose, it was mainly history and
math,
and science.
Correct.
Okay, next slide. So in the middle of the pilot, we had all the teachers trained. We were about 2 weeks in, and I was in Bob Semino's classroom, who agreed to be in the pilot, and we were going through it, and I said, Bob, this is so easy, you got this. I was looking at what a student was downloading on their phone, and we noticed it was completely different. It was 100% different than what we had just rolled out. And I was like, I got to get back to you and find out what's going on. We found out via Twitter that they had released, Microsoft Translator had released an entirely new software update in the middle of the pilot. So me being me, if you know me at all, I hopped on Twitter and I was like, really? Are you sure about that? Do you know how we're using this? Hello, hello, hello. Until they actually were like, hi, email me at this random address. And I did. And we started a conversation, and within like 2 days we had a meeting with them, and within 2 weeks all of the features were back and more. So they had upgraded the software, but then they added the features back in, recognizing how it's being used in education, because they really had no idea. So next slide.
So we were actually one of the first districts to give feedback to Microsoft, and they actually heard us, and they made changes so that they could accommodate our need and what we needed to do for our students. So you can say we actually became an influencer.
Yes. So when a teacher is giving instruction, and there's other ways they can use the tool, and you'll see in a minute there are other ways they are using it. When a teacher is giving instruction, they may want to be in presenter mode. So they're teaching a lesson, the students are getting a running transcript, and if they choose, they can hear it, and they're muted. But then when they're off presenter mode, the students can unmute and have a conversation. They had put in this timeout feature, so for double periods, that just wasn't working at all. So they got rid of the timeout feature, so they could just use the same code the entire 2 periods. And then they had taken away the ability for the students to hear. So we weren't going to be able to roll this out in the elementary schools who aren't reading in their native language until we begged them to bring it back, and they did. So then we were ready to go to the elementary schools. You can go to the next slide. But before we did that, we just want to show you a quick video clip of Ms. Abel, who was a teacher at Mount Vernon High, math teacher. You could see in that photo, she definitely uses it the way that we had shown her, but she immediately started using it for small group work. And I just happened upon this one day when I was visiting her classroom. So she has a Portuguese student. I don't know if I should name names. I don't know all their names, but I'm not going to name names. A Portuguese student who's really amazing at math, speaking in Portuguese, teaching a student that knows Spanish and English, and is getting better at English, but Spanish is his main language, and then a speaker of English that might have struggled a little bit with the math. And they're working in a small group, speaking in their own languages, doing math. And that was like what I just walked into one day. So we have Ms. Abel talking about it on the next slide. We'll just show you a quick clip. Yeah. If we could play it. Oh, it didn't work?
So
all right.
basically her testimonial said that she's able to use the device in such a way that gives her students a voice. And what she's noticed is the ability of her students to acquire their second language of English much faster than they could in past years, because they are now empowered to use not only their L1, but they're actually able to understand the instruction that is being given to them.
We'll show you the video later. Go to the next step. So then we reoriented the Mount Vernon High teachers after the new software came out, and then we moved into 4 of the elementary schools. So we have Lincoln,
Mandela,
MVLA,
Leadership Academy,
and Graham.
Correct.
And Graham, because they had an entire family of students that are Arabic, and so they had, there was a whole group of them, and we started doing it there too.
Can you go to the next? So these are some testimonials, which was very telling. If you notice, Coach Domino's first line is, "I finally saw my student smile." So that says it all for you right there. He's a teacher of global studies, and if you look at past data, our ENL students had difficulty passing global and U.S. history regions because they just couldn't understand the vocabulary or get that high level of language acquisition in order to write such expansive essays. The next one is from a teacher at Graham. Go back there. He's a whole new student. I'm able to really see how much he knows and where he struggles. It's been an absolute blessing. And then the last one is very telling, because if you know, in the Arabic families, the woman's voice is not dominant. It's mostly the male voice that's dominant. But with the use of Translator, the teacher gets immediate feedback with the mom, because she's able to talk to her rather than waiting for the dad to be home in order to have pertinent conversations with the parent about the child at dismissal. So they're able to use the device in order to support that conversation between families. Next slide. These are some student testimonials. The 2 students at Mount Vernon High School. So what he is saying is, las cosas que me gustan de iPad son que me ayuda a entrenar lo que la maestra explica en clase. So the thing I like is that it helps me to understand what my teacher explains in class. Now, the second comment is from the young man who you saw in Miss Abel's slide. So he says that he likes the Translator because even though he's getting English acquisition, he's able to go back and read the text in Portuguese and go back and find a better understanding and a clearer understanding. And that transcript never goes away from the device. He's able to refer to it at home. He's able to, So, next slide, please.
Okay.
So, part of the pilot, yes. Part of the pilot was empowering our registrars, and one of the first voices or one of the first faces you see when you come down to PPS is security guard Coates. So, go ahead, Bob.
Hi, everyone.
This one.
Oh, good. Thank you. That program is awesome. Every student and every parent that comes in, the first thing they say is, do you speak English? No, speak Spanish? I said, no. And I almost felt like a little, like, you don't speak English? So now that they've introduced me to the Translator, I see them coming in, and I can't wait to pull my device out. I'm waiting. You don't speak English? Do you know speak Spanish? Yes, I do. Excuse me. Good afternoon. How may I help you? And I go through a whole dialect. I can register a person with this app and have no problem. They used to be frustrated, seriously, coming in, and when you come into some place and you're trying to talk about your child or get some transportation information, special ed information, and I'm looking at you like, and I don't know what you're talking about. Now I know what you're talking about. You know what I'm talking about, and it's good. Doc, thank you.
You can go. So if there's time and you'll allow, we did want to do a small demonstration with you, the members?
Of course.
Yes, because I know, Madam Vice President, you were part of our meeting.
This was an awesome program when I first was introduced to it. I knew it was going to work, and I want it for all our children.
We are.
As
We're
many
trying.
as we can get.
Yes.
So, it's awesome. Just
anyone wants
just a small presentation.
Microsoft Translator. So I've already connected my headset to my iPad. Yep. Do you want me to walk
I
over?
wanted to ask the superintendent, is this part of her 20-minute presentation?
So I'm starting a conversation. I cut. I know, we'll be fast.
Do you want my iPad?
Do you want the other?
That fast.
Yeah, just.
No. So what language do you want to hear this in? Any?
Do Arabic.
Italian?
Arabic.
Arabic?
Whatever that is.
It's an African language.
Oh, it is.
And there's
what
lots
she
of
said.
dialects of Arabic.
said.
So we'll choose Saudi Arabia. I think that's what our students have. Okay, so I've started a session, and if you have downloaded it, it's LIARC. And there's usually a code that I can walk around and also have you join. LIARC.
It's an app. That's the app.
That's the app. I started a conversation. I'm ready to teach. So I can see who's joined it. I know the superintendent's joined it. But as soon as I go into presenter mode, and the reason I have the microphone is to kind of reduce the background noise. I can start teaching now.
Do you see it?
And you can raise the volume up
Yeah.
to hear it.
We can raise it.
That's how real time it occurs. It's almost like, I think, a 2-second, 3-second delay.
Go.
The code again. The code is LIARC. So students can
Where's the
join at
mic?
any time. Anyone else have it?
إنها تقريبا مثل على ما أعتقد إيه
It's
اثنان.
not the mic.
So there's about a 2 or 3 second delay. So the students would have the wired headphones, and then they would hear everything that the teacher's saying, and then also see it running in transcript.
Can you raise the level on the mic so we can?
Yeah, sure. Microsoft Translator. No, the code. Oh, LIARC.
So while Ms. Unger is going around with the demo, I'm just going to go to the next slide, if that's okay. I don't want to, I know you guys have a very long meeting, so I don't want to take more of
No,
your
we
time.
want you to demonstrate this. This
Oh.
is for the community.
Try one more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
موافق. موافق.
Got it?
That's okay.
موافق.
Yes. Now it's going crazy.
نعم الآن أصبح الأمر مجنونا.
That said, now it's going crazy.
انتظر.
So the teacher can mute or unmute with the headset. They can also be in presenter mode, and the students can see it without, or they can have a back and forth conversation.
So it translates not only in Arabic, but also in English, so they get the.
Anyone in the room could be a different language.
Yes, and
It's
actually-
like the US.
No, I'm just saying is that you can use, it's not just their native language, but also in English, so they can compare.
Absolutely.
It gives them side by side, and also when they respond to a teacher's question, the teacher hears it in English. So she knows, that's checking for understanding and progress monitoring.
So, and you're saying it's a nominal cost for the district? What is it, just the hardware, like the
It's just if we need more iPads for more students that register,
And teachers.
and teachers to have access to the headphones and other.
Thinking about the diversity of our community and the fact that, you know, from the person who greets you at the door to the secretary, to the psychologist, to the administrator, that you can actually interact like this. This is what
We're actually looking into how board members can use it when they have board meetings.
This is wonderful.
To reach more of the community.
This is such a, yeah, this is what innovation is about. Bravo to you.
Thank you. So just to finish quickly the presentation, the reason we wanted to come forward to the board is we wanted to receive your support. As now myself and Ms. Unger, we've been invited by the RIC Tech Expo to present the Mount Vernon City School District Microsoft Translator story at the Tech Expo, where districts throughout New York State have been invited to take part of the workshop. So our workshop proposal was accepted. And once we were asked, we had to submit a proposal and it was accepted. So now we are presenting on May 19th. So you can go one more, so what's the whole premise? Well, if you remember, the district's mission and vision back in September was to renew ourselves, to recommit ourselves, to redesign and reimagine curriculum and pedagogy in order to support our scholars and their success. Our goals were to increase class participation, to increase student engagement, to increase attendance, because if I'm not engaged, I'm not attending. To elevate student confidence and test performance that will foster a growth in local and New York State exams. To increase the proficiency levels, not just in the nicest lot to have students test out, but also in our regions exams, in our state 3 to 8 assessment exams. How will we know that? How will we know we're being effective? We will be analyzing anecdotal assessment data. We will be analyzing the iReady classroom assessments. iReady and classroom assessments, the nicest lot. And again, our current region scores that we receive at the end of this year. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you to Dr. Doggett and Dr. Jones, Dr. Gavitan, Ms. Tiggs, everyone for their support. And first and foremost, thank you, Dr. Smith, for helping me to continue the journey.
Thank you so very much. Please give Dr. Cisello and Ms. Unger another round of applause. So for our next meeting, since we're talking about innovation, we'll have Ms. Marcy Tiggs talk about application track. She's basically, not today, next meeting. She is really going paperless in the Human Resource Department, and
No, not right
no,
now.
not right, not today. So for the next
I'm sorry,
meeting,
is that the 20 minutes?
she will present. And she'll hopefully be able to give us example of how people applying for jobs can go online and how we can communicate within the district to the Human Resource Department. But that ends my superintendent report. Thank you.
I usually do not comment on the superintendent's report, but this was one of the most worthwhile presentations because it teaches the community about the good works that are being done. You dispel all the rumors, all the misinformation. It's coming from the source. And this is how you support your employees and your teachers and your students. This is what you do. Show us what you got. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to committee reports, and I'm going to go to Trustee Kerwin. I know she has someone to present.
Yes, so, good evening. So tonight we have Mr. Dennis, Gerald Dennis from NSA, the founder and executive director, who is going to be speaking about the engineering program.
Can you speak into the mic?
Sure. Sorry. Y'all talk soft, and on the camera, it's very difficult to hear. Even in the audience, it's very difficult to hear.
We apologize, Ms. Trump. Take it out of the mic. Is your mic on? There you go.
Okay. Sorry about that. Could you hear me now? Yes. Wonderful. So tonight we will be hearing from Gerald Dennis, who is the founder and executive director of NSA. He will be speaking about his engineering program that's here in the district and is coming in the district for after school and also for the summer. Mr. Dennis?
Thank you so much. Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes. Great. A real pleasure to be here. And I must tell you right up front, I am really inspired by tonight's meeting. I think it is so important that the connection between what you do and what's being done is so vital to our success overall. And like what I've seen tonight, though, we also are aligned very strongly with the principle that we can do better, that we can offer our children the top line of quality, input and access and resources that can result in their life changes to put them in a place where they should be and could be. And I'm very, very pleased to hear the wonderful things that you're doing. Dr. Smith, I thank you, and obviously as well thank you for inviting me for this. Next slide, please. I'll be brief. I know your time is. This is who we are. This is who we started with 9 years ago. And those kids were then at the 7th grade. As you can see, Victoria's down at the bottom, other students up at the top there, and they all finished at the top of their class. But most importantly, though, for us anyway, they went to 8 different classes of ours during their 6 years from 6th grade through high school. And they were just fantastic students. And in their graduation speech, though, they also spoke about NISA Northeast STEM Starter Academy. And they mentioned specifically, though, that it was through our engagement with them that they learned what engineering was. They learned what scientific study was, what research programs were. And that learning that they encountered in our experience we provided to them, though, pushed them forward in a very aggressive and a very meaningful manner. And it shows where they are today. One's in medical school. One's finishing a master's degree in engineering as well. So we're very pleased, though, aligned with what you're thinking, to be really a part of the change that our children need, more importantly, the change that they deserve, though. That's what we're really about, though. The NISA, I started in 14 years ago, and I started because I grew up in Mount Vernon 30 years ago, and at the time, my dad and mom, preacher, wife, we were the first black people on our block then. And over those 30 years, though, there are no black people on that block at all now. Mount Vernon is the only major community in New York State where blacks are the majority, about 70%. But that also being said, we are right next door to very affluent communities like Pelham, like Scarsdale, all those areas. They all graduate 96% or better of their kids every year. I don't have to tell you what our graduation rate is. It is not what it should be, though. But we can change that, though. And things like I've seen tonight can be a part of that, though. And we, too, want to be a part of that change as well. Next slide, if you don't mind. Our goal is really simple and clear. We really envision providing experiential learning experiences that impact our students with access and availability to resources they would otherwise not come in contact with. We've had more than 80 different programs over the last 9 years. We've engaged more than 3,000 student contact engagements in our classes at different times. Most importantly, though, we want them to know that there are so many choices out there. We should have more people of color, of all colors included, inside the STEM space for careers. It is the top 20% of high-paying jobs in the world. So why aren't there more of us in that space? We know there can be, though, and the key to that can be is exposure and access. So we do just that. If you would, next slide. And my point, which I tell everyone about, though, is I don't want anyone to be fooled or tricked to look at the wrong goal. It really isn't, we hear a lot about the disparity of outcomes. That's very, very important. And that is really, really not what we should be as a community that Mount Vernon is. But the real focus should be the disparity of input. What we give them access to is where our focus should be on. Because if we do a good job with that, we'll see the outcomes significantly change. And so that's what we're about. We're providing them with rich learning experiences, hands-on experiences, where they work as teams, work on projects, work with orientation around how do I go from point A to point Z, all these different ways. And that's the key for our driving energy behind what we do. We want to give them access to things that other communities that surround us that are very affluent get all the time. But our kids don't get those things. And we need to make sure that we can complement what you're doing, the advances that you're making sure they have access to all those kind of rich learning experiences. So, next slide, please. And for 2024, as mentioned, and thank you very much for helping me get this done today, we have a program going on right now. And all of you probably should know about the Regeneron Engineering and Science Research Program. It was done for the last X many years. They are now responsible for it. And that program gives out not thousands, but millions of dollars every year for scholarships and opportunities to go to colleges all around the country. There has never been a Mount Vernon student in that program. So all high schools in the county, in the state, in the country. We have never had a child in those programs. So to address that opportunity, though, because again, it's access to research, learning and experiences that produces opportunities to get scholarships to colleges at the highest level. And so we engaged them, and it took me 7 years to break through with them. Now you figure out why it took 7 years to break through. Once you get that done, you'll understand we finally did, though, through persistence. And I engaged the president of a company, though, who mentioned to me, he said, Gerald, why aren't you guys involved with Regeneron? And I laughed. He said, why are you laughing? I said, you understand why I'm laughing? He said, yeah, I do. He said, why don't you meet with them, though? I said, okay, why don't you come to the meeting with me, though? And he's of a different complexion than I am. He came to the meeting, and I couldn't believe the response they took to me, which I had been resisted from the previous 7 years then. And now we got our first $100,000 last year. We get $250 this year. But the key, though, is what we get is access to their experience, though, to their knowledge, to what they do, to them showing us how this is done. And the science program is, again, an enrichment that our kids deserve to be a part of, though. So this is our second year. We're doing it right now. But next year will be our third year, which will now be a part of the bigger surface, the bigger space that the West CEF is called, Westchester Science and Engineering Research Fair. And being a part of that, though, opens the door to the bigger fairs, where our kids can be a part of that programmatic engagement, where they can come out of it with scholarships to take them to college, graduate school, and to their PhDs, though. And I say, why not, though? And I know with a little help we can extend to you and what you're getting done, we can bring that kind of augmentation to the process, though, that enriches our population significantly. And that's what we're really about, though. So we're going to do, I'm sorry, we're not done yet, though. We're going to do the science fair we're doing right now, but this is our second internal one only, Mount Vernon kids only. Next year it'll be a broader space. We're also doing our summer program. This summer will be our 9th summer program. We hope to engage 200 kids. We were at 160 before the virus, before the COVID. Hopefully we're getting back our energy again. We'll have 200 kids this year at one of the schools. And that program includes grades 3 through 10. Each student comes to class at 8:45, gets out at 3 o'clock. They get 3 classes a day, 90-minute classes, engaged classes, robotics, coding, science, engineering, all the things you can imagine inside of STEM. And most importantly, though, we have an 87% return rate from year 1 to year 2. So kids come, and their parents bug me to when's the next program, and we get them in that program as well. So I think the proof of the pudding comes in the fact that they return year after year. Again, I mentioned before, we have graduates that have been in our program every year since they became for the first time, 6, 7 years. And we have some who've been in our program for 8 years, though, who are into college now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the point there. So we'll do that program this summer. We're also doing a cybersecurity program, working with a couple of companies that will hopefully give us some augmentation to move into a space where we'll get apprenticeships and other kind of programs that they can move on to as an employee or as a junior employee or as an advisor to the environment as well. And then the next thing is, I'm going really fast, but I apologize, but I know time is limited, and I want to get it done in respect of your time and appreciation for that as well. Yep. And then, of course, we do our next program will be a program we did 4 years ago. It was before the virus again. It was the aviation program. We taught the kids from a pilot all about flying, about aviation, what it's all about. The kids went to Westchester Airport, boarded a big plane and saw the plane, how it works, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was a great experience. We had 35 kids there. The picture you saw up front, that was those kids from that program. And they absolutely loved it, though. And 2 of those kids, we did a test at the end of the program, 50-question test, multiple choice as well as comment, input, and writing. And the top 2 students won $10,000 for their pilot's license. Wow. So we did that then. So this will be our second time doing the program. Hopefully this will happen next summer is the plan for next spring, rather, is a time frame for delivering that program. Next slide, if you don't mind. And this is our building we have planned right next door to Grace Church. We bought the property. We down paid for the property there. So our goal is to get the money we need to build this building on top of that property. Next slide. And in place, these are the areas of focus for us organizationally. We want to make sure we have a community-based center that enriches the educational process by offering this robust agenda of classes and programs, after school, summer school, weekends, et cetera, et cetera. That's our plan. They're also speaking to our parents, because our parents need to be encouraged to be good parents. And by helping them access to things they might not normally get access to, we can enrich their experience, but also greaten their skill set as a parent, though. And I think no one will deny we need help in that regard as well. And of course, there's other things that we want to do, too. They're all about learning and getting it done, though, but exposing ourselves to things. If you go to other communities, as I mentioned before, you'll see community programs that are just amazing. And you say, why aren't we involved in that? Well, the question is, why aren't we? Because we're not. We should be and we can be. And that's the intention of our organization. That last one, please. And that's where we want to be. The next one, last. is that. These are people who support us now. Regeneron has been our biggest supporter most recently, but we also have the Dorchester County Office of Legislators is a big supporter of ours. We've had 5 years of giving us $50,000 or more each year. So my point through is, and you know the rigor they put you through to qualify for their funding. And so we have been accepted regularly in that process. We're very encouraged about the possibilities, though. So I'd ask you all to think about us in terms of what else we can do to build our relationship in terms of organizationally and how we can augment what we're doing now with your support and resources as well, and really maximize the experience our children receive every day of their lives.
I have a question. Why isn't Delta there? Why isn't Delta? Delta. I see JetBlue. What about Delta? Seriously.
I'm 100% completed. The reason we got to JetBlue was they actually reached out to us.
I think you need to do some competition. Delta does a lot of stuff. I'd like to talk to you about
I'd love
that.
to talk to you about this as well. I welcome the conversation. Sure. I want to thank you, please. Yeah.
Thank you.
My card. I have a card in my bag. Thank you again.
So thank you, Mr. Dennis. When I met with him, I said, one thing that I would like, if you can bring into the district, is cybersecurity. Because as we know, where this society is going, everything is cyber, cyber, cyber. So I did ask him to please bring in a program for cybersecurity, and also ask him to bring back the aviation program. So thank you very much. I have one more speaker who will be doing a presentation. Now, this is Sergio Rodriguez. He's an engineer with Con Edison, and if everyone knows, or if you don't know, I had a pleasure in speaking with Mr. Rodriguez, who facilitated the ACE cohort program with Con Edison into the STEAM program, into the STEAM school. So tonight, Mr. Rodriguez will be speaking about the program that the STEAM kids. So far, we have about 10 kids that goes down to Con Edison, and he was so generous and helpful facilitating this program with Con Edison with the school district. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. So, my name is Sergio Rodriguez. I am a trained engineer. I have about 16 years of professional experience. And as our board member, Lorna Kerwin, mentioned, we are neighbors, and she reached out regarding possibilities of programs for the STEAM Academy. Con Edison runs a program, a STEM program, to support different communities. So I was able to, with some support, grab 8 of selected students from the STEAM Academy and get them into the program. So what I'm going to be doing tonight is just talking about the program itself that is run out of Con Edison with the support of other companies, and then how we're planning to expand that, hopefully for future cohorts. So is there a presentation?
Yes, there's a.
And that's not the right one. Yeah, it was in the same, wherever you were just looking at the last presentation from the last speaker, wherever that was, they were both together.
You are a rare form to the short meeting I've ever been in. I'm so excited about it.
Wherever, what's that? Oh, he did.
It's one thing.
No, it's a PDF. It's one of the windows you have open there. I just kept seeing it as you were trying to get up the last presentation from the last speaker. It says ACE on the front slide.
We'll send it again.
I'm gonna ask, Ray to say something. I don't have anything to.
Lorna, how did you find this program? Just out of curiosity.
By doing researches and what I would like to see into the district. So
What research? Is this from an initiative that, or it was just you made a contact at Con Edison?
So I made a contact with my neighbor. Who
No, I'm her neighbor.
So you're a Mount Vernonite?
I am a resident of Mount Vernon.
We're reaching into resources within our community
That
to
is
make
correct.
our school district better.
That is correct.
Yeah, I mean, this is, although the program is run out of Con Edison, they're the host organization. I'm just a resident, and I'm interested in making sure the
What do you
kids
mean,
have resources.
Just a resident?
What's
You
that?
are not just a resident. You're bringing something that enriches the students in our district's lives. So you're not just.
Well, I'm not selling anything. If I guess that's what I'm saying.
And we're not either. We're improving lives.
So just to keep talking while they're looking for that. So there were
Sure.
10 students that went to Con Edison down in Manhattan?
Yeah, so, it's up. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about the ACE Mentor Program of Greater New York. This is an organization, non-for-profit organization that mentors high school students. As the name suggests, ACE, the main driver of the organization is to get kids interested in architecture, construction sciences, and engineering.
Yes.
So that's what I'm going to be introducing you to tonight. As I mentioned, I am a Mount Vernon resident, and I just wanted to bring this program to our community so that we can have more resources, and our kids can hopefully focus and go into those types of careers like myself. All right, next slide. So the ACE program of Greater New York is a free after-school program. This is very important. It doesn't cost anything to send kids here. It's focused, as I mentioned, on high school students, and it's focused on getting them interested through mentorship on those key areas of STEM fields. Next slide. This is how it works. There are teams formed. Companies such as Con Edison and such as Morris Ajmi, which I will talk about a little bit more in a few slides, form teams typically of 20 to 30 students. They select these students and then they have them come into their offices and take classes once a week. It follows the New York City Board of Education schedule. So whenever they have school, they have classes. Whenever they don't have school and they're on break or have some sort of test, then there's no classes. Each session is about 1 to 2 hours, and the kids work with professionals to develop a project, so a whole semester or cohort-wide program that they present to at the end of the school year. Next slide. So as I mentioned, I'll just go quickly. The focus of this, so science, they get instruction on science and engineering courses by professionals. And they also learn a lot of soft skills, so negotiation, conflict resolution, team building, such and such. It's really an entire program that's focused both on helping the kids learn and also work in teams. Next slide. Again, the kids go to Con Edison for the one pilot that I'm going to be talking about, and they get instructed, they work in the offices, they use the materials, they use the computers, they do design, they do drafting, they do 3D modeling, and again, it's all part of building up to this project that then they present to at the end of the school year. Next slide. So here are the first cohort, the 2023 pilot for the Mount Vernon STEAM Academy. The program is a STEM program, but it's from the STEAM Academy that the students came from. 8 were selected. The reason why it had to go this way was because it started in 2023, and by then all the teams had been formed. So Con Edison and Morris Atchney Architects, which run Con Edison ACE Team 32 jointly, graciously admitted these students so that we can get going as quickly as we could. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the 8 students were selected, and one of the students, even though they started late, one of the students ended up being the leader of the cohort, the project manager. So she instructs the other 27 students from 5 different high schools on what it is that needs to be completed and how it is that they're going to present at the end of the cohort. Next slide. So there are 3 disciplines really: architecture and construction sciences, engineering and project management. As I mentioned, one of our students was selected by her peers as the project manager for the cohort. So she is running the architecture teams, she is running the construction sciences team, the engineering sciences team, and she's just part of the project management team as they start to build up their project. Here, what you're seeing on the screen is one of the teams working on engineering principles for what they're going to do towards the end of the year. So they've decided to build a high-rise building with cogeneration. So that means they'll be learning about solar as well as battery storage energy and how communities can be built with those types of renewables in order to be more self-sustainable. Next slide. So as I mentioned, they are also learning a lot about soft skills. There's a lot of storming in making these teams. They're learning about negotiation, what's going to be part of the project, what can they do, how much time do they have. They're learning about how to present. They're going to be presenting to a panel full of experts, and they're going to have to defend the decisions that they made, both time-wise, cost-wise, engineering-wise, and how it all works together in order to create this large project that they're working on. Here, these pictures, you can see them. They are at the Energy Control Center at Con Edison on the top left. And on the bottom right, they are at Morris Atchney, which is an architecture firm, a very well-regarded architecture firm. If you know the Prudential Arena in Jersey, where the Devils play, or where Seton Hall plays, they designed that arena. The Scholastic Building in New York City, they designed that building, so it's very well-known and high-regard architecture firm. And you all know what Con Edison does. All right, and more importantly, as they are learning and doing these projects, they are networking. So they have about 15 mentors, and they're going to these professional spaces, and they're getting cards, they're meeting people, they're getting information about what it is that they do, and that is primarily one of the main drivers that keeps kids coming back, is those recommendations that they get from these folks allows them to then apply for scholarships through ACE. And one thing that I do want to mention is the cohort, every year, it's been running for 12 years, every year there's at least one kid who wins an ACE scholarship for college. So they have a very good track record. Next slide. All right, so as I mentioned, this year it was very much a pilot. It started in January. Next year, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it more accessible. We're trying to bring it to Mount Vernon so that more kids can take part of it. We're working towards that goal. There's a lot of logistics involved in building your own team here. We're working through those logistics. This presentation is really to let you know what we're doing and to get your support as we continue to hopefully grow this this team for next year. That's all I have for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Yes, thank you. And that ends my report.
Thank you, thank you. Have any committee reports? Trustee Jenga, trustee Adesobi?
No, thank you.
Okay. Don't we have a SEPTA, something going on this week?
June 9th is in June. June 9th, the SEPTA is going to be having.
Speak into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it on? June 9th, the SEPTA committee is going to be having their signing of their charter. So they're inviting the community to come here to be a part of that signing ceremony, which should really be quite nice. So if anybody's available, we're really hoping that you'll come out and support the SEPTA, the Special Education Parent Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lindsay?
As far as security goes, we've been having discussions both in person and on the phone with Dr. Smith, Mr. Fagan, who's the Director of Security. I've been speaking with Mr. Leal, who's a district-wide supervisor for our security. And I know they've been speaking also with Dr. Jones, who oversees security, so lots of security. They've been talking about how we're going to manage security in 2023 to 2024 school year, discussing manpower allocation, other subjects, including hiring a number of district guards to fill the spots we need to have in the school district, because we're trying to up the amount of guards we have, not lower them. We've also been discussing security matters this year, like the allocation of the guards, including the number of guards at all the schools, which at this time happens to be 4 at Hamilton, in case the rumor happens to be that there's only 2.
Thank you, and thank you for speaking in the mic. Trustee, Trustee Red, Trustee Kelly?
I think Mr. Botros is in the audience. Would you like to update us on facilities? Have there been any developments as far as the Hamilton fence and
to the
whatever
mic.
you think is pertinent that we should know in the community?
Thank you very much. Good evening, trustees, Acting Superintendent Smith, and cabinet members, and members of the
Mr.
community.
Botros, we need you to speak into the mic as well.
Yes. Okay. Speaking into the mic, I can update you on a few projects or ones you are particularly interested in.
Whatever the updates are, sure. At
yeah,
the medical room, the whatever you.
So we had
feel.
a flood at the medical room in the Mount Vernon High School, and the medical suite was completely renovated. Thank you for Mr. Ragusa for overseeing that work. We have a new cooling tower at the Lincoln School, so we'll now have air conditioning. That was a major project, and that work is complete. We have a new elevator going in at Williams School, which is allowing us to be ADA compliant. But all the prep work has been completed, but that work can't be implemented until the school is emptied. So we're going to do that as soon as school is out in the last week of June, first week in July. The gates at Lincoln are fixed. The air conditioning at Pennington and Traphagen, we are going to have some temporary solutions in terms of window units. That's not exactly the most efficient solution, but at Traphagen, we are on track to get a new chiller next year. We have electricity capacity issues at the schools, and that's why we're at this point confined to just using window units. The Mount Vernon High School turf room needs a lead abatement at significant cost, so our first hurdle is to reduce the cost of the abatement, which is estimated to be in the $200,000 range. The Hamilton Courtyard Playground, that's the playground not visible from the exterior. We're waiting on new play equipment, and the old playground will continue to be used until the new equipment is delivered, and then the old playground will be demolished and quickly rebuilt new. The outside playground at Hamilton, we have a new playground, a new play surface, which was damaged, and it's going to be replaced under warranty. The Parker Playground has been, the new play equipment has been installed, and the new play surface is going to be installed this weekend. We have district-wide underground petroleum storage tanks that we're in the process of removing. Mr. Silver has been spearheading that, and I think we're in good shape. We have some compliance issues, but ultimately the funds are in place. They're bond funds, and we're working speedily to get all of those tanks removed in a compliant manner. Let's see, the Lincoln fire alarm replacement design is complete. We are in the process of procuring an additional fire alarm servicing company to give us a fully compliant regime of inspection, testing, and maintenance. And there is a chance we could salvage some portion of the Lincoln fire alarm replacement, but right now we're still on track to replace it fully, and probably in the next meeting I'll be able to give you a firm construction schedule for completion of that project.
I had a question about Hamilton and the gate. Has that been installed for the parking lot?
That's finished.
The gate for the Hamilton,
It wasn't him, security?
I can't speak to that right now. I'd have to get back to you.
Ms. Jones, do you have any information on
Silver
that?
has a
Dr. Jones, excuse me. Do you have any information, Dr. Jones, on that?
Yeah, the gate was, a new gate was installed or repaired a day after the incident happened.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I apologize for not having that information.
No, that's okay. As long as we know, I wanted to confirm that that work was done. The other thing I wanted to just say is that thanks to the partnership with the board trustee Saunders and yourself, Mr. Silver, and Dr. Smith, with West Hab in training your personnel at no cost to the district.
Yeah, and I got some excellent feedback today and from the participants, and they said it was really, really fruitful and beneficial. So thank you again, trustees,
Because
for
now they have
facilitating
their
that.
state certification, so you're investing in improvement of your employees.
And it was done at no cost. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you know how, is there an ETA on the demolition of the old Grimes building?
Yes, we are.
Thank
we
you,
are.
Mr. Bochos.
We are just waiting for final state approval. It's at the State Education Department, but in order for us to get state aid, it has to be approved by the state, and it's a big project. It's about $1 million, which is covered through the bond. Those monies were set aside. So it's our anticipation to start bidding perhaps the end of May or early June. I don't know whether it will be, what part of that will be able to be done during the summer. We were asked about that earlier today as well. There is no plan for what happens to that after the building is demolished. The board will have to consider what they want to do with that land, which adjoins the very small playground that's there at Grimes. There are a number of options we could do, but right now, the plan is just to demolish that building.
Thank you, Mr. Silver. Is that the end of your report? Trustee White?
That was our report.
That was a joint facilities report.
Okay, is there any updates on the certificate of occupancies?
Mr. Silver, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. We have permanent COs at all of the buildings except Lincoln, where we are missing the fire alarm, and we still have the fire watch there. Occasionally, something goes awry at one of the buildings, and we immediately put a fire watch if the fire alarm is not working completely. That did happen at one building last week. We tried to do a test of the fire alarm. It didn't work, and so we immediately put in a fire watch until we could get the people out to repair it. As Mr. Bochos said, we're getting a new company to come in that will be doing inspections as well as repairs, and we're putting in cell phone connections instead of having to rely on landlines, which are not reliable. And that's being done now, attaching the alarms to cell phone service. And we did have to deal with the subject of poor cell phone service at Graham, but we've gotten past that as well.
I just wanted to add, in terms of the certificate of occupancy, we have it for every school. All the schools, with the exception of Lincoln, is till January 2024, and Lincoln is till February 2023. We have the receipts, correct? Trustee Curlew, Trustee Gloria, you have the receipts?
Yes, we do, yes.
So all of,
2024.
Well, let Mr. Bochos.
Acting Superintendent Smith. It was not February 2023, it's May 2023. That was
May 2023, I'm sorry, I misspoke. So we have certifications for all of the schools. I'll repeat. Certifications for every school except for Lincoln until January 2024, and Lincoln is May 2023. So we have the receipts?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Those schools will be closing, correct?
Not at all.
And they're all posted for people to be able to see them. The public can see them. So we are in compliance, we're in good standing, and we are proactive.
Thank you. I do not have a report, but I would like to ask Trustee Renew to give us any updates on his life.
I guess that's what this has become now a little bit. Other than the big scholarship, of course, thank you for the superintendent for announcing that. Very exciting. I'll be using it to go to Cornell, of course, Cornell 2027. I wanted to mention that this Saturday will be the first track meet at Memorial Field. So your local Mount Vernon High School track team will be there. Come out May 6th, 10 a.m. and support. And, you know, it's a kickoff. Yeah.
And that completes the committee reports. So we'll go right into the resolutions? Okay, let's do it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion for 6.1, Human Resources 81A certified?
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 6.2, Human Resources 81B classified?
Second.
Who was second?
Somebody over there. Jeff.
All those in, questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. Can I have a motion for 7.1, authorization to hire staff for planning team for summer administration's workshop?
Motion. Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. I have a motion for 7.2, approval of compensation for an administrator and teacher on the annual district's professional performance review, APPR, negotiations committee.
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.1, updated appointment of technology links for the 2022-2023 school year?
Motion?
Second.
That was Kelly and Red. Questions, concerns, discussions?
Can you explain that, what it is, please?
Technology links.
Does anybody understand what I just would like to understand what it is.
Can you speak more?
The technology links update.
I don't think the public can hear you, Ms. Kelly.
Yes, Ms. Jones.
So
Dr.
the-
Jones, sorry.
The
excuse me.
tech links are those individuals in the buildings that are keeping our schools running where technology is concerned. These are replacements.
Are they with BOCES or these are personnel in the district?
No, they're BOCES. Sorry, they're employees.
Okay, are they teachers? Are they
Yes.
employed as teachers? Okay, I just want to understand that. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 9.1, approval of student services, pupil personnel services, memorandum number 18? Need a motion?
Second.
Okay, questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain?
Aye.
Abstain? Okay. One abstain? That's, okay. Okay. Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 9.2, authorization to hire an additional instructor for the homebound instructional program for 2022-2023?
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions?
So this is just, how many homebounds do we have? Is this just one?
No. We have a list of homebound instructors. This is one person being added to the pool.
Okay, is this for special ed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. I have a motion for 10.1, approval for merged athletic activities with Tuckahoe High School.
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions?
I thought we approved this previously. Is this?
For the swim team.
Oh, this is
different.
This is a different sport?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the other one was it East? What was?
Bronxville, I think.
That one was a partner with Melbourne? Yes.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 10.1, authorization to accept a donation from the Tisch Foundation Incorporated for Mount...
10.2, I'm sorry.
10.2. 10.2. Yeah, you said one. Oh, sorry. 10.2, authorization to accept a donation from the Tisch Foundation, Inc. for Mount Vernon High School college-bound seniors.
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 10.3, authorization to accept a donation of $500 from Mr. Tyler White for the McKinney-Vento program?
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion to pull 10.4, approve a general funds transfers? Can I have a motion?
A motion.
Adrian and... Okay. Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay. Can I have a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation, the financial history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and to receive legal advice on a pending matter?
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussion?
How long?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain?
I said, how long? Exactly. How long are we going to be in? Are we going to come back out? Oh, because it says public session. Okay. Okay. All right.
Wait, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Okay, motion carries.
We're not coming back out, are we?
No, we're not coming. Let's tell agent to tell.
Are we coming back? Could you, all right, can. No. We're not coming back. We are coming back? Stop it.
We will not be returning after executive session. Thank you all for staying and engaging us.